Hello everyone, and welcome to this Diablo 3 guide for starting a brand new season. We'll go over all the initial preparations you should make before you get started slaying demons in Sanctuary. Just follow these steps to get off to a good start to get to level 70 efficiently and allow you to begin farming those legendaries and working toward the endgame. First, start off by creating a new seasonal character. You can either create a brand new character, or you can use one of your existing non-seasonal characters via the Rebirth feature. On the character selection screen, just select the character you want to use and hit the Rebirth button to convert them to a seasonal character. When creating a character, make sure the Hardcore option is not selected unless you intend on it. Hardcore characters are permanently lost when they die, under any circumstances, including game freezes, computer lockups, and lost internet connections. So make sure that you only select this option if you know what you're getting into. Also note that you can only use the Rebirth feature on 3 of your characters for a particular season, so have an idea of which classes you might end up playing and choose carefully. But of course, you can always delete a character and then create a brand new one in its place. When you rebirth an existing character, all of their items, any equipped on the character, in their personal inventory, or on their followers, will be sent to you via in-game mail. The items will expire after 30 days, so it's important to clean it out before you forget. If you use the Rebirth feature, then switch to a different non-seasonal character and log into a game. Click on the Messages Pending button in the bottom left corner and empty out your mail. Note that you can clean out the character prior to the season starting to get everything prepped, so you won't have to bother with this step at the start of a fresh new season. But even if you did, it's worth double checking just to make sure you didn't miss anything. Next, create a game with your new seasonal character. At the main menu, click on Game Settings, select Adventure Mode, and hit Start Game. As soon as your character is loaded in, log out back to the main menu. This step isn't necessary, but is considered a best practice to help ensure the game acknowledges and registers your character before you go on to the next step. Next, you'll complete the weekly Challenge Rift. After you're logged back out, click on Game Settings again, and this time select Challenge Rifts mode and hit Start Game. Completing this game mode will reward you with a cache of gold and crafting materials that provide you a chance for some significant benefits at the season start. The Challenge Rift changes every week and puts a predetermined character class in your hands with preset gear and a fixed skills loadout. You must complete the predetermined rift within the designated time limit to be eligible for the rewards. Once you log into the game mode, you can review the character's gear and skills prior to starting. The only thing you can change is what hotkeys the skills are assigned to. Once completed, the Challenge Rift rewards will be sent to you via in-game mail. Note that you must first have created your seasonal character prior to completing the Challenge Rift in order to be eligible for obtaining the Challenge Rift rewards on your seasonal character. The Diablo 3 seasons are generally released on Fridays, but the weekly Challenge Rift generally becomes available the prior Monday. It's important to not complete the Challenge Rift too early when a new season is about to begin. After you complete the Challenge Rift, log into a game again with your seasonal character in Adventure Mode. Make sure you have your seasonal character selected. This time, set the game difficulty to Expert before entering. This difficulty setting is generally good for the first few initial levels, and you can drop the difficulty down later while in-game when necessary. In the bottom left corner, click on the Message Pending button and claim the Challenge Rift cache to your inventory. Right-click on the cache to open it up and pick up all the items. Next, assign a pet and any other cosmetic items you desire. The pet is beneficial because it will automatically pick up gold for you, which is very helpful in the early game when you are lacking run speed and gold pickup radius. Right-click on your character's portrait and select Customize Portrait. In the Pets category, click on a pet and hit the Equip button. Next, head to the 3 followers, the Templar, Enchantress, and Scoundrel. The followers can be accessed in the main town area of each of the 5 acts. The follower weapons are a significant upgrade over your own starting weapon. Interact with each of the followers to look at their inventories and review their weapons. Then, take the best relevant weapon for your class. It's okay to leave the follower weaponless initially and just gear them out later on. Once you've shaken down the followers, select one and hire them. Each of the 3 followers provide different buffs, and you can review them to help you make your choice. There's no wrong choice for which follower to use, especially during the leveling process. Since the magnitude of some of the followers' buffs are based on their main stat, it can be a good approach to select the follower that shares the same main stat as your character, since it will make gearing them out with the correct stat much easier. However, I generally like to use the Templar no matter what class I'm playing, since he has the best defensive type buffs and will stay in melee range to take more hits in lieu of you. Next, you'll go retrieve Kanai's cube. Go to Act 3, then to the Ruins of Sescheron waypoint. Explore the zone and find the portal to the Elder Sanctum. The location of the portal will be unique to each created game, but it will generally be along the outer perimeter of the zone, so just follow the outer perimeter around until you find it. As you're working your way through and gaining levels, drop down the game difficulty to normal when needed, especially if you don't get any good item upgrades along the way. Explore the Elder Sanctum zone until you find a room with a small orange cube flanked by 4 pillars. The room is always found toward the upper right of the zone, so head in that direction when you can. Once in the room, click on the cube to unlock Kanai's cube in town. Next, use your town portal to return to town. find the Blacksmith, designated with an anvil on the minimap. Interact with him and go to the Train tab, and hit the Train button several times until rank 12 is reached. Then find the Mystic, designated on the minimap with a purple swirl, and repeat the same process, also reaching rank 12. Next, go back to the Blacksmith. Here you'll craft a level 70 rare weapon that will be used to upgrade to a legendary weapon in Kanai's Cube. You're looking to obtain a legendary weapon that comes with a multiplier to one of your skills to significantly increase your damage output. Go to the Forge Weapons tab and select the appropriate weapon for your class according to this list, and hit the craft button. Make sure the level requirement listed is level 70. There are many options for upgrading rares for each of the 7 classes, and covering them all would justify a standalone video, so I won't cover all the permutations here. Following this guidance will give you the highest chance of getting something useful to use while leveling up. Once you have your level 70 rare weapon crafted, head to Kanai's Cube, designated by a golden cube on your minimap. Interact with it and navigate to the Hope of Cain option to upgrade a rare item. Place your weapon in the cube and hit the fill button to auto-populate the required materials. Note that you only have enough materials to upgrade a single rare item. Hit the transmute button and cross your fingers. You're hoping for a weapon with a legendary power that provides a multiplier to one of your class's skills. Once you've crafted the weapon, hang on to it in your inventory for now. Next, head to Kadala, the Blood Shard vendor. She can be found in the main town of each of the 5 acts. Look for the red heart icon on the minimap. Interact with her and purchase the appropriate item type for your class according to this list. Much like upgrading the level 70 weapon rares, there are many options for purchasing items with blood shards for each of the 7 classes, and covering them all would justify a standalone video, so I won't cover all the permutations here. Following this guidance will give you the best chance of getting something useful to use while leveling up. Keep purchasing the same item type until you obtain an item with a good legendary power, ideally one that increases your damage output, and has good synergy with the damage multiplier legendary power you obtained from upgrading the level 70 weapon rare in the previous step, if you were lucky enough to get one. If you then still have blood shards remaining, purchase pants until you obtain Poxfalds. These pants offer a great damage mechanic, useful for all classes. And again, if you still have blood shards remaining after that, then purchase helms until you obtain Leoric's crown. This helm is great for leveling, since it will provide a boost to experience gained when equipped with a ruby. And then if you're lucky enough to still have blood shards remaining, purchase rings. You'll be looking for Leoric's signet, which also provides a boost to experience gained. Now, head back to Kanai's Cube. If you received a good damage multiplier from upgrading the level 70 weapon rare, then extract the legendary power into Kanai's Cube. Interact with the cube and navigate to the archive of Talrasha recipe. Place the item in the cube, hit the fill button, then hit the transmute button. Then open the weapon category and assign the power. If you did not get a good weapon legendary power, then consider extracting a legendary power from one of the items you obtained from spending blood shards. But only do this if you obtain some kind of damage multiplier. If you didn't get something good from spending blood shards either, then don't extract any powers. Just save the materials, because you might find something better while leveling. Note that you will only have enough materials to extract a single legendary power, so don't spend the materials frivolously. Note also that you will be able to wear the pieces of gear that you bought with blood shards while leveling, although you may have to wait a few levels to equip them. After you're done, store any remaining items in your stash that you'd like to save to avoid inadvertently destroying them before they can be equipped. Next, head over to the Blacksmith again. Now you'll craft a level 70 rare two-handed weapon appropriate for your class. Go to the Forge Weapons tab and craft a single level 70 weapon. Make sure the level requirement is listed as level 70. Then check its secondary stats. You're looking for a weapon with some type of crowd control on it, like chance to blind on hit or chance to immobilize on hit. If you don't get one on the first try, then try another time or two. Remember that you have a limited amount of crafting materials to work with. Veiled crystals will tend to be the limiting reagent for this step, and you will also need some additional veiled crystals for the next step, so don't bleed them completely dry. It's possible you may not get a weapon with the crowd control mechanic on it, but you can still use it for the next step. Note that you'll typically want to avoid crafting items that are specific for a certain class, like Dabo's for Monk or two-handed scythes for Necromancer. These items can roll with a plus to maximum resource property that will dominate your rerolls and make it tougher to get a reduced level requirement property in the next step. So it's best to craft something more generic, like a two-handed sword or staff. Next, take your level 70 rare weapon that you just crafted to the Mystic. You'll be looking to reroll one of the weapon properties to reduce level requirement. The value of the reduced level requirement property can be as high as 30, meaning you can potentially equip your level 70 rare weapon as early as level 40, which will allow you to bump up the difficulty to maximum and level much quicker than normal. Interact with the Mystic and go to the Enchant tab. There are 2 secondary properties on each weapon. If you crafted a weapon with a crowd control mechanic on it, then take note of the other secondary property. Place the weapon in the Enchant window and select that other non-crowd control secondary stat that you just saw. Then click Replace Property. Rerolling this property will have a much higher chance of giving a reduced level requirement stat, since there will be fewer options for the game to choose from. Keep rerolling this same property until you get a high value for a reduced level requirement. Remember that you have limited materials to work with, including gold, so you won't be able to reroll too many times. If you aren't able to get a reduced level requirement on this weapon after a few rerolls, then consider repeating these previous 2 steps, crafting another 2-handed weapon and rerolling its secondary property until you get it or run out of materials. Note that you can attempt to reroll any secondary property, even if the weapon doesn't have a crowd control property on it. There will just be more options for the game to choose from, so your chances will be lower, but this may be the best option if you're running out of materials. When you're done, or if you run out of materials, store any of the weapons you crafted in your stash. You'll collect more crafting materials while leveling and can try to reroll the property again later. Next, you'll want to check the vendors in town for gear that may be upgrades for you. There are several vendors scattered throughout the towns of all 5 acts. You can check a few of them to purchase any offered item upgrades. You'll want to continue periodically checking these vendors every few levels because they can offer some nice upgrades, especially if you don't have good luck with gear drops. At level 7, the fence vendors will begin offering rings as options. They can offer rings with additional damage, which will be a significant upgrade to your overall damage early on. So check each act's fence merchant until you find these plus damage rings, and remember, you can buy and equip 2 of them. Now you've done all the prep you can do to give yourself the best start possible. Before you begin leveling, you'll want to recreate the game and raise the difficulty. What difficulty you can handle will be highly dependent on what items you were able to obtain in the previous steps. Torment 1 is a good starting point to try out initially if you were able to obtain a good damage multiplier for Kanai's cube, but hard difficulty is usually a good sweet spot for most general starts. Remember that you can always bump the difficulty down to keep things comfortable as you progress. If you're playing on hardcore mode, then you'll want to be very careful going too high. Regardless of game mode, you want to tweak the difficulty to a place where you can kill most monsters relatively quickly, but don't go unnecessarily too low. If your difficulty is set too high, then your rate of experience earned won't be as efficient as it could be, even if you can survive the monster damage. And the same can be said if the difficulty is set too low. Monsters won't be worth much experience, and you won't have a chance to use many of your skills. But ultimately, find a place where you feel comfortable and have the most fun. No matter which difficulty you choose, you will make progress. Now you have a decision to make on how you'll spend your time leveling. Some of the options include playing through the campaign story mode, farming regular Nephilim rifts, working on the seasonal objectives, or performing kill streaks with massacre bonuses in the open world. Massacre bonus leveling is generally the fastest method, but I personally don't enjoy that playstyle, so I don't focus on kill streaks at all. For me, I typically like working on the seasonal objectives at the start of a new season. Completing the objectives up through Chapter 4 will reward you with a full set of set gear predetermined for your class. This set gear will greatly increase your power early on after you hit level 70. This is a great avenue to pursue because even if you end up being really unlucky with gear drops, then you'll at least be making progress toward obtaining this 6-piece set bonus. I'll initially start by working on a full round of bounties on all 5 acts, since this is one of the most time-consuming activities, particularly for a fresh character. Doing these bounties offers some good variety while leveling up, and gives a good start on collecting some of the blacksmith patterns that you might want to use later on. After completing the bounties, I'll then knock out as many of the other seasonal objectives as I can before finishing up getting to level 70 by running regular Nephilim rifts. While you have several options, it's not possible to go wrong with where you go and what activities you spend time doing. As long as you are slaying monsters on a reasonable difficulty, you will make progress. And no matter what approach you take, the amount of time you spend getting to level 70 will be a mere drop in the bucket compared to how much time you'll spend gearing out your character at level 70. So don't stress too much about any particular option, and just do what you find enjoyable above all else. And lastly, while leveling, here's some key tips to keep things going smoothly. First, pick up everything you find. Click on weapon racks, open up chests, pick up as many items as you can for potential upgrades and to break down into crafting materials. Yellow rare items will generally be more powerful and better to equip on your character, so definitely keep an eye out for them. But blue magic items and white common items are also valuable for their crafting materials, which you'll need to help gear out your character at level 70. As you're leveling, if you feel like you're falling behind the power curve, then check the blacksmith to see if you can craft a new weapon. The blacksmith offers various tiers of weapons that become available at different levels, so check the level requirements of them to see if there's one close to your current level. You will generally want to craft a two-handed weapon since it will usually result in the highest damage output. Also periodically revisit the town vendors in any of the acts for potential gear upgrades. They can really help fill voids if you're not lucky getting drops for certain gear slots. And keep an eye out for any rubies you come across. They can be used to equip in your helm for a significant boost to experience gained, and they can be equipped in your weapon for a significant damage increase. While you're leveling up, rubies are generally a better damage increase overall when compared to emeralds, which are typically used for most late game builds. And last, if you were able to craft a level 70 weapon with a reduced level requirement, keep in mind when you'll be able to equip it, and do it as soon as possible. Stop progress on whatever you're working on and recreate your game to raise the difficulty. Torment 3 is a good starting point difficulty to try out, and you can then bump it down in-game until it's comfortable. Again, be careful about going too high if you're on hardcore mode. Hopefully these steps will help you have a good start and more efficient time leveling up in a new season. And that's all for this video. If you enjoyed the guide and would like to see more content, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.